and one hedge fund manager trying to get a good return on education. How he says using business principles can fix broken schools. This is America's #1 financial news program, The Wall Street Journal Report. Now, Maria Bartiromo.
We have stagnated. Our educational system has stagnated despite spending massively, massively more money. The percentage of people getting a four-year college degree has flatlined. SAT scores, NAEP scores, the bottom 25% poorest households in this country, barely above 10% of children will ever get a four-year college degree.
Our economy is decreasing the number of jobs that a non-high school graduate can get, and we're condemning about 1 million children or young people a year to lives of struggle and poverty because we haven't given them that good education. A right deferred is a right denied, and the right denied, this is really the civil rights issue of our generation, is a quality education for every child.
Over the course of a lifetime, a college graduate could earn as much as $1 million more than someone with just a high school diploma. That and other startling statistics are part of a recently released documentary, A Right Denied, featuring my next guest, Whitney Tilson, founder and managing partner of T2 Partners and Tilson Mutual Funds. Whitney, it's great to have you on the program.
My pleasure.
Now, I've spoken to you before about the stock market. Your day job is a value investor, but you're touring the country speaking about education. How did that happen? Tell me what you're doing.
Well, my parents are both educators. In fact, they were the first couple to meet and marry in the Peace Corps in the early 60s, and so it sort of comes genetically, I suppose. And then 21 years ago, when I graduated from college, I met Wendy Kopp, the founder, and to this day, the person who runs Teach for America, and that sort of started a 21-year obsession, I guess you could call it.
Well, how terrific. You compare the style of your film to An Inconvenient Truth.
Right.
You're laying out some shocking data as far as education reform and arguing for education reform. Tell me about that and about the film.
Well, it was drawn from watching An Inconvenient Truth many years ago, where Al Gore spoke about his obsession, global warming, and I remember coming out of the theater that evening and saying, we need something like that for education reform, because there's so much misunderstanding. Few people, I think, really understand the crisis that it is.
The film focuses on 2 achievement gaps in education. Tell me about those gaps.
Sure. The twin achievement gaps is the way we sort of summarize it. The first is the gap between the United States and our economic competitors, and basically over the last 40 years, our educational achievement has flatlined, and our edge over the rest of the world has disappeared. We're now trailing our economic competitors. And the second achievement gap is within the United States. We have some of the widest gaps between high-income and low-income children, for example, and particularly low-income minority children. Their achievement levels are massively lower than their more affluent peers.
How does the education experience of children in the U.S. differ or compare to children in China or in India?
Well, China and India, there's just dramatically greater focus, I think. The level of hustle and intensity, the number of days in which they are in school, the incredible focus on education. I think there's an issue in the United States with our schools, to be sure, but it's not all our schools. I think starting in maybe 1970, when our education achievement has flatlined now for 40 years, I think part of it is we had been so rich for so long that we sort of lost our hunger and our drive. We became a little lazy and complacent, frankly, and if you look, if anything, that's accelerating. If you look at where young people are spending their time today, it's not studying hard. It's messing around, watching TV, playing with their iPod. In fact, a recent study showed that the average American ages 8 to 18 spends 7.5 hours a day in front of a screen of some sort. And so I don't think that's happening in India and China.
Well, one other issue is that if you're the principal of a school, you don't really have the ability to put the best talent on the field. Like, if you want to run it the way a corporation would run it, a CEO puts together the best team. You can't do that because you have union rules, and you can't really put the best people in place in terms of teachers.
That's right, and it's true. Many studies have shown that teacher quality is the single most important attribute, and principal quality is the second most important attribute. In other words, it's the quality of the people in the school that determine the quality of the school largely.
Sure.
And with I have no problem with unionization in general, but when it reaches the point where it protects mediocrity or worse and entrenches people who aren't cut out to be teachers or principals, and then when you have a system that allocates the lowest caliber people to the students who most need the best people, the ones who come from disadvantaged backgrounds, you have a broken system and an immoral system.
All right, we'll leave it there. Whitney, good to have you on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Whitney Tilson.